Hi, everybody. Welcome to another week of Hot Topics and uh, Inauguration Week this week in the U.S. A very celebratory time for democracy, not only in the U.S., but on a worldwide platform. So, yes, that's sort of setting the stage for the week. And let's get right into Hot Topics. Yeah, and speaking of the inauguration, I, like the rest of the world, probably, I want to talk about Amanda Gorman, and I'm going to share an article from the Toronto Star. And, gosh, you could pick literally thousands of news outlets that would have reported something on Amanda Gorman, the National Youth Poet Laureate for the United States, who was one of the many stars, some might say the star, after President Biden at the inauguration event. And, I was absolutely stunned by the beauty of Gorman's poem and her delivery and just her essence. But I'm going to talk about something a little bit different about Amanda Gorman and what it means to us in a very localized kind of a way. And, Amanda, who will now, of course, just based on what the impact she had in a well-deserved way, her two books are now Amazon's number 1 and 2 best-selling books today. And you can understand why. Incredible talent. And of course, Amanda was pretty well known before. She was the Harvard graduate and has remarkable things she's done already as a very young woman, 22 years old. But yesterday, she was on a global stage, and that will change her life in many ways forever. So what does that mean for us in Hot Topics and our day-to-day life? And what it reminds me of is that that sometimes in our life, we have a chance to put someone who might not normally get a chance to be on the stage, as it were. And it's surprising sometimes how we've got this talent in our organizations that is some way hidden talent that they're just looking for that moment for someone to sponsor them and to bring them forward and to let them show their stuff. And I've experienced that a number of times in organizations that I've been at, where we have found people that are quite hidden from other leaders and senior leaders and often executive, and they get buried into the organization somewhere, and they're just incredibly talented, and they just haven't been able to show their stuff. And when we do, and when we find them and we give them that stage or that platform to be able to demonstrate their thinking, their creativity, their work, they often shine. Sometimes they'll stumble, and that's okay too, because that's part of the learning process. And in fact, it was really interesting to hear when Amanda Gorman, I heard her interviewed by Anderson Cooper last night about how she was struggling with the letter R and saying it, and how much she had to rehearse and practice, and how she and her struggles, but she hit a home run on the global stage yesterday, and that's wonderful. What an inspiration. Very few of us ever get to the global stage, but there are lots of mini stages out there, lots of them. Sometimes they're just in our local little area of our own little place of organization where we work. But when we find someone and we get them a chance to stand on that stage sometime, to bring their thinking, to bring their work, they astound us. And we give them a new path, and we shine a light for them. And I want to encourage you to think about, can you be inspired by Amanda Gorman, not just so much by what she said and how she did it and how she said it, which is remarkable in its own right, but perhaps as an inspiration to go find someone and give them a chance to get on some stage somewhere to show their stuff in the workplace. It'll make a huge difference. So that's the end of topic number 1. Look, one that I have talked about and written about a few times before. And Garrett's going to share a blog post by a colleague and friend of mine, Hilton Barber. Hilton is a wonderful South African living in Canada, marketing genius, fired up culture guy. I like him a lot. And he kind of has an article about a blog that he's written around, around values. Are they really worth it? And he kind of confronts people on throwaway values. And you've heard me talk about that before. And sometimes they can do more harm than good if we don't really, really embrace and live them and make them every part of our everyday life. And the reason I wanted to go back and do a sort of another version on this topic is because I'm going to teach my Harvard course again coming next week. And that's one of the elements I talk about. The end with that is that I followed up with a VP of HR of a really cool company called Transamerican Auto Parts. They're owned by Polaris, the large manufacturer of many things, including snowmobiles and that kind of stuff. And Brooke Coffey's his name, and he talks about Transamerican Auto Parts, and one of their primary and their history is around outfitting four-wheel drivers. Like they have this long-standing history of really personalizing four-wheel drive vehicles and everything they stand for the driver, with Jeeps and trucks and any four-wheel drive unit. They have other assets too, but they have about 1,500 people. And Brooke was talking to me about how important what they call their principles were. And I want to read some of them to you. Garrett will post them too. One of them is brains and guts. We study the competition, crunch the numbers, mine the data, and use it to constantly refine and revise our game plan. We also know when to trust our gut and call the audible. The next one is solvers, not spotters. We work with our heads up and our eyes open. We don't point fingers or play blame games. If anybody has a problem, everybody has a problem. The other ones are grit makes great. Bold enough to lead, humble enough to follow. I'm going to conclude with, there are a number of them, there are 9 of them, but I'm going to conclude with the last one. Stay on the throttle. We never settle for good enough. We change relentlessly forward with more ambition, more determination, more desire than all the others who want what we have. Stay on the throttle. And the reason I wanted to share these is that you got to think about the people that work at Transamerican Auto Parts and the culture that they have there and the customers they serve and their history and their mission. Dig into them if you want. Go to their website. I think you'll enjoy them. But it's written and created with something that's real. Could you imagine working at Transamerican Auto Parts and, the values were up there like communicate, be nice to customers, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times, not only are these values hollow and they are meaningless and cause cynicism, but oftentimes they're written like as if they came out of some, marketing churn factory that isn't in the context of the brand and the essence of the purpose of the institution. So when you refresh your values, think about them and how you not only declare them, write them, put context to them, but communicate them in a way that really can resonate with who the people are that make up the fabric of your institution and the customers you serve. They're still not enough. You can write them fancy and make them look cool and still kind of do that use cool language like stay on the throttle. You have to make them real and use storytelling, but they work together systemically. You can't, think about how they're positioned and written, the narrative, how they're applied, lived, the storytelling, and then how you can build recognition and reinforce them and use them and declare how you use them when you have to make really, really difficult decisions. Really difficult decisions. Anyway, that's kind of the end of hot topic number 2. As always, thank you for letting us kind of nudge you a little bit ahead with our topics that we put forward in front of you, hanging out with us, coming out to our socials, and making a difference to us and helping us stay on the throttle. And we appreciate that very much. Thanks and bye for now.